this is Valerie again. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about how I got an expedited U.S. spousal visa interview at the U.S. Embassy in Manila. Alrighty, let's begin. So the process of our visa case was faster than we have expected despite the pandemic. So we passed our case on February 10th, 2020. So that's like the whole CR1 case. So we submitted it on February 10th. And 8 days after that, we received our NOA1, which is on February 18th, 2020, which is really fast than we expected because, you know, with all the COVID situations, we're really thinking that our case is going to be more than what our lawyer said. Our lawyer said it's going to take about 15 months to 18 months of processing before we can really get an interview. So that's really quick despite the pandemic. And then on May 7th, NVC received our case from USCIS. And then we sent the required documents to NVC on May 26, 2020. So when we pass our case, it will go to USCIS. After they review all that, the next step will be going to NVC. And NVC has their own set of requirements that you need to comply before going to the next step. So we submitted our documents to NVC on May 26, 2020. And then on June 4th, 2020, NVC informed us through email that our case is documentarily qualified, or what they call DQ. So my husband and I were very happy that finally, you know, we're few steps closer to getting an interview. So at that point, we're just basically waiting for the NVC to send our case to the U.S. Embassy in Manila, and U.S. Embassy in Manila should set us an interview schedule. At that point, COVID was really bad, and we checked the U.S. Embassy in Manila's website. Every time we check it, it's always that they postponed all this interview, and so we were worried that we won't be able to get the interview schedule because they kept pushing it back because of COVID. And so while waiting for our interview schedule, we come upon videos on YouTube what other people is doing to get an interview, and some people would send out an expedite letter request to get the interview. And so we tried and write down, so we talked to our lawyer and asked if would that be one of the options that we can do, because at that moment the COVID was really bad, not just in the Philippines but also here in the USA. And so my husband works at a pharmacy, and back then other businesses were closed other than pharmacy, grocery stores, and, you know, other businesses that are important. And so he was one of that employee that has to go to work, and at that time his dad is ill, and so he's really feeling bad of what's going on, plus the distance, being far away from each other also is dragging him down, and, you know, your mental state could really be affected because of those things that's going on. And so that's the letter that we sent to them, just explaining what's going on and why we're trying to get this expedited. And so we sent our expedite letter request to NVC on July 27th of 2020. And then on August 10th of 2020, NVC approved the expedite request that we sent. So Actually, there's a funny story behind this because we thought that our case is already at the U.S. Embassy in Manila, and so we sent it to them first, and they said, "Hey, I don't have your case yet," and so we have to resend it to NVC. But then after that, after NVC approved the expedite request we sent them, they sent it to the U.S. Embassy in Manila right away, and so we received an email from the U.S. Embassy in Manila on August 19, 2020 in the morning. They asked me if I have completed the documents needed for the interview. At that point, I said, yes, for sure. I have waited for this for a long time, so I got everything ready to go. On August 19th in the afternoon, U.S. Embassy messaged me to do my medical exam first before they'll provide the interview schedule. So this is where all the fun started. So because of COVID, we have to get all these documents if we fly. On August 20th, we registered for my medical exam at the St. Luke's Extension Clinic, and we scheduled that for August 27th because that's the only schedule at that time that's open. Like, all these appointments are very limited, and so we got our medical exam scheduled for August 27th of 2020. And then at the same day, we also booked a flight to Manila on August 26th. So the flight will be August 26th, and my schedule for medical exam is the next day, the 27th. So I was thinking of going with my sister at that time, but she was in school, and so I went with my mom instead. I would suggest that if you live far away from Manila and you have to fly, like me, I live in Iloilo City, and so I have to fly, to have somebody with you, because then it will be really helpful. It will be able to help you out with the documents you need, especially if you need an extra copies of your documents. They will be able to help you out with that. So we flew there. We arrived in Manila on August 26, 2020 in the morning. So we picked a hotel that's really close by to the clinic, and so that's the Manila Lotus Hotel. And it's really nice because it's really close by that you could just walk. So it's like a 3 to 5 minutes walk probably. And so the next day on my medical exam appointment, we woke up really early in the morning, probably at like 5 a.m. And we got there of course, if it's 5 minutes walk, 5:05. And then I'm already number 11 when I get there. And so there's already a bunch of people waiting for the clinic to open. I think they open at like 6. And so when you get in there, you have to sit down and wait for them to call your number. And you have to go through all these levels and exams and stuff like that. And so after I've done all the examinations, I was told to come back at around 12:30 or 1 p.m. So some other people would say that it will take about 2 days for you to get your exam and your result. And so I'm thinking at that time, I'm really hoping that I could get it in just 1 day. And so I went back, and then when I got back, they told me to go upstairs and get my shots, my vaccines. And so I got my vaccines, and then they told me to go downstairs to get my results. And so I went downstairs, and then I was expecting to get this, big documents to be handed to me, because I think other people says that they receive like a yellow packet with all the results and like a CD and stuff like that. But I didn't get any of those. I only got the vaccine paperwork, so the documents that I have gotten. And so I asked the person, "Is this all I need?" They said, "Yes. We're gonna mail your packet to the U.S. Embassy." And I'm like, okay. And then after that, I got home probably 2 p.m. or I got back to the hotel at 2 p.m. And then I emailed the U.S. Embassy in Manila saying that, hey, I got my medical exam results done and everything. And so I emailed them right away. And so I think the next day, which is August 28th, in the afternoon, U.S. Embassy in Manila emailed me my interview schedule, which is September 9th at 7:30. And of course, celebration. And so I was so excited. I was so happy. But we waited for so instead of going home, we just waited for my interview. It's like 12 days. And so we waited there in Manila because if I go home, I don't know if I can come back. And so I waited until September 9th, and then at that day we went to we actually moved different hotels while we're in Manila. So at that time of my interview, we were at the hotel across the U.S. Embassy in Manila. I forgot what the name of the hotel is, but I'll put it up here. It's very convenient. You can just walk. It's like right across the street. It's right there, so you can see it. So I would suggest to pick a close hotel so you don't have to commute or anything, because you have to make sure you're there at that time. So when we got there at 5 a.m., there's already like 3 people waiting outside of the U.S. Embassy, and they open at like 7. I think 7 is when they open. And so we waited there for a while. And make sure for your interview to not bring any electronics, because they will not let you go inside. So that's where having somebody with you would be good, because then you can just leave your things with that person, or if you're by yourself, you can just leave your things at the hotel. Just a heads up. And I will make a video how my interview went and what are the questions that were asked. And also I'm going to make another video for my St. Luke's medical exam and how that went and what are the steps and tips as well for you. So then I got out. So I got in at 7, and then after that, the interview, and they said, you're approved. So they took my passport and they said, just pick a location where you want to pick it up. So I picked the to go as the Manila location, because I think that's like the closest location around there. And so I picked that one, and then I got out there at the U.S. Embassy at 9:30 a.m. after all the interview and all the documents, questioning and stuff like that. So after 7 days of waiting to get my visa, I received my U.S. visa at To Go Manila in the afternoon of September 16th, 2020. So then from there, we have to decide if I have to go back home to Iloilo, or do I just need to go straight from Manila to the U.S. Because if I go home to Iloilo, at that time there's no flights going out of Iloilo. You can go in, but you cannot go out of Iloilo. So if I go back, then I won't be able to go back out to go to the U.S. And the U.S. visa that I have is only valid, I believe, for either 3 or 6 months. And so we don't want to risk that. So my husband and I just booked a flight to Los Angeles on September 18th, 2020. And I arrived at like 10 or 11 p.m. So that is the process of our expedited U.S. spousal visa interview. I hope this video helped you in any way. If you have any questions, you can comment down below. If you have any recommendations of what the next video you want me to talk about, put your comments down there and I'll gladly read them and make it happen for you guys. Thank you so much for spending your time watching my videos. I hope to see you next time.